special day. This is a very special time. Show me a hill I can climb. Give me a mountain to move, and I'll prove that it's a very special day. I woke up early this morning with gloom on my head. Had a big feeling to climb back in bed. Then I looked in the mirror and somebody said, wake up, wake up. It's time for you to lose the blues, and this is a very special treat. Tell it to everyone you meet. That life is all for living and love is all for giving. So this is a very special day. Tell it to everyone along the way that this is a very special day. I woke up early this morning with gloom on my head. Had a big feeling to climb back in bed. Then I looked in the mirror and somebody said, wake up, wake up. It's time for you to lose the blues, and this is a very special treat. Tell it to everyone you meet. That life is all for living and love is all for giving. So this is a very special day. Tell it to everyone along the way that this is a very special day.
Very special day it is. It's a wonderful Wednesday, a wacky Wednesday at that. That means Education Wednesday. And also my partner in crime this morning, Brad Gilbert. Good morning, Bradley.
Good morning, Becky.
A Walmart Wednesday, right?
A Walmart Wednesday, yes.
All right, in the hot seat we do have the man, the myth, the legend, Keith Nance from West Washington, Superintendent. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Awesome. And what a beautiful morning, right?
It is. I
Nice.
think we're about to turn cold, but
Yeah.
it's been great the last 3 days.
I know. And these leaves, they're
Yeah.
peaking, gorgeous. And we all live out where you see that, you get that opportunity, and we're very blessed to have that opportunity to see these leaves, and stuff. I love them. So, all right, let's take our sponsors this morning.
All right, we've got Walmart, Meadowview, Salem Crossing, Hoosier Uplands, Kentucky and Cat and Core Recycling, Dr. Blackside Associates, Dr. Mindy Gunn, Fox Burley Wealth Management, Skyline Suites, and Celebrity Home Loans.
Yay, thank you to our great sponsors. We're on to the 10th day of November. You guys, we don't want to miss this. This is Area Code Day. Now, how many area codes do you remember in your head, Keith?
3 or 4.
Okay, what about you, Bradley?
Quite a few because of Walmart.
How come that I would see that? Yeah. All right, International Accounting Day. Hats off to all the accounting out there.
They're important.
Numbers that up. This is National Forget Me Not Day. Who could forget it, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
This is the one I wanted to make sure we said. National Vanilla Cupcake Day.
Yes, like the underappreciated.
Yeah,
holiday.
vanilla gets a bad name for
Yeah.
being vanilla, but it's a great flavor, so I don't know why.
It
Yeah.
really is. It probably is what I would go for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't beat a good vanilla
Yeah.
cupcake.
And someone told me one time that vanilla is the base flavor of every ice cream flavor anyway, so it's that important.
Look at you. Well, and then think about vanilla, like the smell, like it's supposed to mask any other, smells. I mean, vanilla is very important to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it got a day. All right,
Finally.
Sesame Street Day. Brad, who's your favorite Sesame Street?
Oscar the Grouch.
I can't believe that one. What about you?
Snuffleupagus.
Ooh, well, that's
Yeah,
different.
the imaginary friend of Big Bird,
Whoa, hello, that's a whole nother degree.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow,
it's like,
pulled that one out of his pocket.
Well, I watched a lot of Sesame Street as a
I
kid.
did too.
it's like, I'll show you your Oscar the Grouch and all.
Yeah, look at that.
There on there.
Right,
Wow,
right.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
I would have to say mine's the count. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3. Yeah. I love the count. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. The United States Marine Corps Day, and my dad was a Marine, and I love them. I think that's one. So hats off and thank you for their service.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
World Science Day for Peace and Development. All right, there we go. We need some peace and development, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
All right, tomorrow is the Veterans Day program. WSLM, we're very honored to be a part of that. We'll be doing the sound system. It'll be taking place at Crown Hill Cemetery. This is a tradition. Master of Ceremonies, Kevin Bateman, and that'll be at 11 a.m. And don't forget those ladies, they put on a great meal afterwards. The American Legion Auxiliary afterwards have the program, have the is a wonderful meal, and that's on Main Street. So we'd like to thank everyone to attend this, and it starts at 11 a.m. at the courthouse lawn. So always a wonderful tradition.
Yes.
I think I've been there when it snowed. I think before. So looks like we're going to be in for okay weather. Yeah. All right. Very good. All right, let's real quick, Keith, we want to jump into education, but real quick, Bradley, give us a lowdown. Okay, so last week we started our Black Friday.
Our Black Friday, our
Man, that was a banner day.
Deals for Days is what we're calling the whole month of November. We have our last Friday event before the big Black Friday event. That's this Friday.
This is so important to me, Keith.
Store opens at 5 a.m. and ready to go. We have big ticket items again this time. We're electronics. We've got a lot of focus on the early look at apparel for socks, underwear, all that stuff that's important, that people look forward to getting, and the pajama sets, things like that. And expanded stuff in seasonal. We got a lot of new items in there. So, but electronics and home items are the big tickets. We got a couple specials, and we did end up with a lot of, not a lot of, but we had planned for to have extra of the TVs that were in last week's, and so we continued those over. We just wanted to do that to give customers this week a bigger selection again. So come in and see us.
I love that.
5 a.m.
Well, gentlemen, I know you've been waiting all year long, getting close to new underwear time, okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All you men,
Yes.
hang on there, right?
Yes,
It's getting that time.
Yeah.
Talk about getting excited. Well, definitely, and what a wonderful way to do
Right.
this.
Yeah.
So it's not so rushed, and it's not so much all, you just kind of do it. I like this.
Oh, and tire event this weekend again too. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And then we'll have 2 weeks until the main event. So coming up Black Friday itself. And again, we are closed Thanksgiving Day, and we're appreciative for all of our wonderful associates, and get to spend time with their family. And our new ship from store, our new fulfillment center that was part of our remodel and expansion, it'll be open right after Black Friday. So we're excited about that too.
Love that. Love that. And I'm actually doing I'm like an athlete in training, Keith.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing my exercises, getting ready for such events.
Yes. Oh, and also,
Gotcha.
also Wednesday night, the night before, we expand our online grocery pickup hours till 10 p.m. So you'll be able to pick up groceries until 9 p.m. Between 9 and 10 p.m. on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So any last minute things you need to do there. And we have Walmart Plus. If you're a Walmart Plus member, that means that you can drop in an order as late as 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday and still get your order within 3 hours. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right. One more thing. There is going to be a beginning farmer breakfast, and that'll be Saturday, November the 13th at 7 a.m. Registration for the breakfast, and it's from 8:15 to 10:45 at the Washington County Government Building, and reservations are required. It's the informational session to discuss opportunities available for new and beginning farmers. There we go. So Ruth Hackman asked me to announce that, and there we go. Ruth, thank you for listening on Coffee Club this morning and every morning on WSLM. All right, let's jump in. Education. It's all about you now, Keith Nance. Thank you, Brad, for education at Walmart and our shopping opportunities. All right, now we're going to jump in West Washington, and we've had fall break, and now we're going to be getting into Thanksgiving, and then rolling right into Christmas. So, look, where are we at, Keith? Give us some information.
Well, I feel very fortunate to, getting somewhat into what seems like regular routine at school, which is terrific. We started the school year off and had a little bit of a setback where we had to shut down. Since then, things have been going wonderfully. Been really good with as far as number of individuals that have to be missing school. So that's a huge positive. We feel like we can do a lot of things with and for our students when we're there in school. And so being there is kind of the linchpin of a lot of things happening. Building on a discussion we were kind of having before we got on air, I don't think many people recognize the full scope and impact of what the last couple of years have had on schools. In the last month, I've met with several different superintendents. As a county, we've met as our county schools because we're seeing some trends that are worrisome. And again, I don't want to be all gloom and doom because right now we're in a good place. We're back to a consistency in what's been confirmed, and what we really always knew is that consistent routine is really, really good for children. It's really, really good for the pace and really, really good for the pace and the sequence of learning. And the last couple of years have been anything but consistent. As much as we've tried, the effort has been there for sure. Our teachers have been kind of through the ringer from all different things to working virtually, working in a hybrid situation where sometimes you're virtual, sometimes you're in school, working with students that are at home and at school at the same time. And this year we really set forth with reestablishing things. Reestablishing our routines, reestablishing behavioral norms and expectations. And that's been difficult because you don't flip that on and off like a switch. So we've been working very hard. Our staff members have been working very hard for our students, and our administrators have been working extremely hard as well. In fact, we're going to present to our school board on Monday night, just talking about the things that we are seeing and what our efforts are to try to get things to where they really need to be to be able to do our most important task, which is educate our kids. And again, I don't want to dwell on those things because although you see that as a real obstacle, on a positive side, I want to say what I also see is us really turning a corner, and I see our staff members really turning a corner with our kids. And we've discussed, and you mentioned, what do you do about it? What do you do when kids are not used to, the expectations of what you do at school? And I think the hard answer is you just keep plugging away and you do the same thing every day to create that consistency and that routine, because that is where the kids thrive. And that doesn't happen overnight. And so it's a hard thing, to see a group of teachers after school and stop in as I'm coming in from the buses. And, they mentioned that they've had a particularly bad day with a certain class or a certain small group of students or a certain individual student. And, I just keep reassuring them, keep doing what you're doing. We show, a respect to our profession and what we do by keep plugging away, but we also show the care and love we have for our students by setting expectations and by following through with those expectations. I think from the start, it hit us so quickly back in 2020 in the spring when it was just like, boom, you're closed. And I remember thinking, 2 weeks, we'll be back, and then it was all the way to the end of the year. And what you're able to demand from the students when they're not in school and what you're able to demand from the students when they're in school is quite different. They're not college kids taking, virtual classes. They're still young, impressionable kids that are growing socially and growing mentally and academically. And so we just know that the best place for them is within our walls and within our building. And so we've been working really hard to keep those routines, set those routines. And, you're always got a little bit of pushback from the start. You guys have all been around children enough to know that when you're trying to set a boundary, what's the first thing they do? They want to take a step outside of that boundary, or they want to get right up to the boundary. And so it's work. And I think it can be discouraging because the focus of our work sometimes as teachers gets diverted away from the subject matter maybe, and is going to be focused more on the students and their behaviors. And supporting them, but sometimes supporting them is just setting a standard and holding them to it. And we're doing that. And I think that every school is attempting to do that. Like I said, I've had conversations with the folks at East Washington and Salem. We belong to a group, a special ed cooperative that also includes Springs Valley, Crawford, and Paoli. So I see those superintendents often and those administrators fairly often. So we've been having these discussions, and it's not something that's unique to West Washington or unique to Salem. It's somewhat, I'm sure 10 years from now, someone's going to do a psychological, sociological study on the effects of or what happened during this period of time. And for some kids, it is trauma, for kids that are kids that have a great home life, maybe less traumatic, but were completely isolated and removed socially from that all-important social interaction that we all thrive off of. So it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that I am very proud that our staff are stepping up to meet. So again, it's a pretty serious topic, and people are talking about it in the professional circles, but I don't think many people are talking about it in public, because what it looks like is like, we're putting blame on why we can't do some things. The truth is we're all experiencing this. We're all in it together. Yesterday we had a meeting with the probation office, the prosecutor's office, and all 3 schools to discuss truancy. Truancy's been a problem since schools were created, probably. Where's so-and-so and why has he missed 3 days in a row? But it has, where's Mr. Gilbert? He's out in the parking lot. Get him in here. But it's been magnified. So what we've seen is, exponentially, if we had a handful of students that we wrestled with that issue with in the past, we might deal with 15 or 20 kids now, as opposed to 5. You take that on scale to Salem, and they used to have been dealing with 20 kids, and now they're dealing with 40. And that's hard. And I think because we were able to access and progress to some degree academically in a virtual setting, I think publicly and in some families, the value of a day's education and attendance was diluted a little bit. They think, oh, well, I can stay at home today. It's not that big of a deal because I can pick up my work from Google Classroom, and there's instructions on there, and maybe even a little video. And so if I miss today, it's no big deal. But you miss a lot in that classroom. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of studies about how kids learn in the setting within the classroom and the setting outside in years to come. And they were some studies prior on a smaller scale, but now, the entire world's experienced this. I think we're going to see that the value of the classroom and the school is only going to grow. We're not in that place right now because we're coming out of this circumstance. But I think the truth is, and most people, if you really sat them down and talked about this, they would agree that, the best place for students at that age is in a school, learning from people that care about them, but also learning about how to interact with each other. Really small things like personal space, respect for others, like the things that you take for granted. Keeping your hands to yourself. That was always in middle school. I always taught middle school or upper elementary, and that was always a problem. You think that always is kindergarten, first grade, but man, when they get to be middle schoolers, they just want to hang all over each other. I don't know what it is, but you see their arms are over.
I need some space.
And but then learning, how to handle conflict. There's just a lot of missed opportunities that you don't realize that you learn in the environment in real time. And so those are things that we're trying to recapture.
So I have a question along the lines and kind of changing course, but not at the same time. So taking a look from the home support, whether it's parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever is the home support system for that student or the students, now we're coming out of this, so it's like, hey, school's back in session. And so from the parental side of it, I think a lot of times it was, oh, things are back to normal, send the kids to school, everything is, and you don't have to think about. So my question would be, how do you get parents involved in, because the partnership to get the kids through this, I mean, there was the armchair quarterbacks, of course, but there was a lot of parents that were partnering and supporting the educators and the people trying to get through this and do what's best for the kids. How do you remind them and bring them back to the table and say, we're not out of the woods yet. Yes, we're in school, but we need your help from this side. Because you just automatically assume, hey, things are going good. They're back in school. I can forget about having to remind them of behavior issues, what to do, what not to do. And maybe parents don't know exactly the gaps their child has developed during that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure, certainly. I am actually comfortable with the idea of parents believing when my kid goes to school that the school is responsible for certain things. I am comfortable with that. I mean, I feel like in the best scenario, parents are very engaged and very involved. But I also know that in some dynamics and some families, you know, the kid going to school and them relying on us to do a lot of things is just integral in the kid's growth and maturity and education. But what we really need, even if that's the dynamic, is the support then to follow through with things and believe that we as a school are doing what we believe is very best for the kids, and not just what's best for them academically, but what's best for them socially. And so when a kid comes home and complains about a rule that the school is trying to implement or enforce that may seem like it's more strict than it was previously, there's a reason for that. You know, something happened that caused us to try to focus on something more, whether that's because we see such a high number of kids using vapes at a young age. So you implement some kind of different rule to help at least mitigate that as much as possible from being handed off at school or spread around school or done at school. And, you know, so for me, it's just a matter of believe that we are doing what is best for your child as we're doing what's best for all the kids. And we would never go through what we go through because we wanted to mistreat or violate the rights of kids or do something just to torment them, you know. And what I found more and more frequently is when you call, you know, maybe it was 2/3 of the time you would get full support of parents, and they would say, you know, I agree, my child, you know, messed up. They may have their side of the story, but they're in the wrong, and somehow do what you need to do to get it corrected at school. Now it might be more like 1/3 of the parents are giving that kind of support, and 2/3 are saying, well, my kid said, and I mean, it's important for a kid to talk through. I mean, if my child comes home and says this happened in class and they feel like they were wronged in some way, having the conversation with them to say, yes, but what is your responsibility in this situation? Okay. Yeah, did you feel singled out and embarrassed? Okay. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why you felt that way. What happened? Let's talk about the perspective and point of view of the teacher that was in there with 26 kids when you decided to do something silly and you feel like they overreacted.
When did that change? You know what I mean? It used to, I mean.
Oh, I can remember, and she's listening this morning, but I can remember my mom, if you get in trouble in school, it's going to be worse at home. Just because, I mean, it's one of those things. And, you know,
and we have some really great parents. So again, this isn't, I'm not painting with the wrong.
No. And that's, I wasn't trying to paint that. I just sometimes, and I'm not trying to say that once, you know, now that school's back in session, parents are like, oh, thank goodness, you know, we've seen the memes of throwing the kids out and stuff like that, you know, but it's just one of those things that maybe in an effort to get back to normal, some of the parents or the caregivers for these kids are back to normal, so to speak, in a way, and they just forget that there's going to be a lot of things that we find out that are after.
Yeah. And mostly we just need their support and
Yeah.
a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
You know, as we go through these difficult growing pains, you know, a little bit of grace to know that we're doing what we think is best, and we're going through this process. It's really an uphill climb, and it's just more difficult to do that without the support.
Well, I think what's important is okay. I know there's people listening to the radio right now that's thinking, "I'm so sick of things being blamed on COVID." I mean,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we've heard that. Oh, I don't want to hear another thing about COVID and being blamed. Okay,
Right.
but I can't. I just want to explain that was the foundation. Okay, this is what happened, and it didn't happen overnight. Okay,
Right.
and it was a process that everybody was trying to scramble around to get answers and try to understand and try to make our lives back to as much normal as possible. So this is what I hope that everyone, this is a takeaway on this, is to realize that it did have effect on middle school, elementary, and high school students, okay? And no matter what age, you know what I mean? Because at 18, you're still a child.
Yeah.
I mean, even though society wants to bring you into an adult. So there's nothing wrong with having these emotions and trying to figure it out, because we know that it was a lot. So you can't expect that them, when they go back into an environment that they've been off of for a while and had the home life or whatever, it, like you said, it's best to get them back into that environment, but we got to get them back where they used to be, so to speak, in that routine.
Yeah.
And I think that's, and I think it's important to show what, okay, like we don't, Brad goes to Walmart, I go to WSLM. We don't go to the school. And I think it's important for everybody, for parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles to realize, and that our teachers and our administration and our discipline, our principals and everything, they do have some obstacles that maybe we don't realize they have, and it's global. I mean, everybody. It's not unique to Washington County.
Yeah.
Every county is having it, and I think that that's something that just sometimes, because I think there's probably parents out there that said, that don't realize. Oh, really? You know what I mean? What, and I think that's highlighting what's going now is where we're at. We're not going back. We're going forward. But with forward, we have some bruises, so to speak. If you fall down, let's call COVID like an accident, fall down, and then you still have some bruises that you're dealing with and some wounds that you're still treating because of that. Is that fair?
And I think it's good for, like, I'll just take me for an example, like what I've been through and seen the associates going through, and they're still standing, a year and a half, almost 2 years later, and the amazing things that they did. I take that to, if I look around and every school system, I mean, there's people can complain, but if you look, we've got great school systems in our community and across this state. But if you look at, like, folks at West Washington, Salem, and East Washington, the educators that going on 2 years later, what they've been through, if they were not willing, if the kids were not important to them and they were not doing it for the right reasons, they wouldn't be standing here. They would have found another place to be. They would not have, and they would not have been willing to say, I need some help with this, just because we got to get through this together. After all of this, the battles, we're not done yet. And I think that's important when people think about, Keith, you said, offer some grace, and you got to think about that. The people that are still going every day and making sure that your kids have a good education, they're warriors almost. I mean, they really are. They are frontline heroes, and they're still standing. And we don't know all of the things that you guys are going to run across.
No,
we don't.
And I can't say it enough. And Keith, I think you've said it, and I know Brad and I feel the same way. We got to get parents or grandparents, aunts, uncles, I don't care, some, the village to work with the teachers, to work with everyone working together. And even if they are a high schooler person, a high schooler, a lot of times, like, elementary, we'll take them to elementary, drop them off, tell them goodbye, have a great day. Middle school, you still maybe drop off. But then in high school, a lot of times we realize that they still have a lot of emotions too. And it's still, we need that buy-in still from parents to be that part. You know what I mean? To be that communicative with the teachers. And I've said this many times with the girls. I would say 9 out of the 10 times, if there was a little bit of a bump in the road, if I called a teacher and talked to them, it was solved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And a lot of it is the approach. Your skin wears a little thin. So if you call in and you say, hey, I would really like to set up a time to talk to Miss So-and-so, I just have a concern. And then when you get on that phone call, you say, I just want the best for my child. I need to better understand this. Instead of coming out of the gate, sometimes there are, accusations of whether it's not doing well or, my child said you did this or,
those are not,
because the truth is, and that's not to say that educators aren't human and make mistakes. There are times as an educator that I've had to say, I apologize. I misspoke. I shouldn't have approached it that way. But just like a couple of anecdotes, if you think about, and again, I don't pull COVID in when I say this. What I say is the last 2.5 years, there's been inconsistency.
There you go.
And the inconsistency is a product of COVID, but the product of the inconsistency are issues that we're seeing at school. Indirectly related to COVID is the fact that we were unable to keep a consistent standard of what we normally kept. And just anecdotally, if you send your kid to your grandparents for the weekend, or maybe they stay with a friend, the rules in that house are different maybe than the rules at your house. And they come home and you had this nightmare child because your grandma or because your mother gave them candy all weekend long. And it takes 2 days to fix. So what we're doing is the same thing, but on this much larger scale. Because it wasn't 2 days, it was 2 years. And so we're battling things that were always just standard practice and were expectations, and kids coming in and not knowing them. For example, kindergartners, we always bring them in and talk about the cafeteria. But if you think about these kindergartners, when they were 3 years old, the pandemic had everything completely shut down. When they were 4 years old, a lot of things weren't open. And where do you learn how to sit and eat? Like when your parents take you out to eat, in a public setting. Where do you learn behavior like sitting still and paying attention to a speaker? Maybe in church. And some of those gaps are there where those things that are support are cultural norms, so to speak, there haven't been present.
Right.
I was just thinking about this. Yeah. Some children probably have always pick up groceries and they just sit in the car with their parent instead of having to be pushed through the grocery store.
That's probably true. And preschoolers and kindergartners, half their life have been social. Their social experiences and interactions have been changed, like either non-existent or changed or not how you would normally. And we don't think about that sometimes.
Yeah. Right. And we had the experts saying that this was going to be before when we were going through the pandemic. There were people that that spoke it out in the universe and talked about this will be coming down the pipe, and we're seeing that now. And just like you're talking about going out and eating, we didn't go out and eat because restaurants were closed. A lot of them were picked up, like you said, sitting in the car waiting for our meal. Don't they bring? Is that normal? Or going? A lot of churches, a lot of times went online or did different things too. So a lot of those, even not just school, but a lot of our social is, different than that.
I have a family friend that she has 2 young kids, and that reminded me of her the other day. I saw her and her kids were acting up a little bit in the cart, and she's like, this has been tough for me to transition from picking up groceries because they were always worried about sick kids, things like that, and the family staying safe. And she's like, and I was like, nah, just throw some candy in the cart. So I probably didn't help that, but you don't think about that until you said that. Even that conversation with her, it didn't register that those kids really for the last 2 years they've not been used to wheeling through whatever store or going into whatever store that you're shopping at.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to bring that to highlight. I didn't mean to get completely on that, but I really think that's important to just to get some understanding, because I don't think everybody.
Well, and then I guess we're getting close to the arc of the story. I love teaching children's literature when I was a kid, I guess I was kind of a kid when I was a young teacher, but we're kind of getting to the arc of the story, right, where everything changes for the good, and you're back with your feet underneath of you. So on the positive side is we've gone through a lot, but I see us turning the corner. I see interactions with teachers and kids improving. I see kids who came in this first 9 weeks were really not performing, and the idea of, there's a deadline for this, I completed and it's supposed to be done at the end of class, or it's supposed to be done by the next day when I show up. I see those things being met more frequently. But some of our concerns, and what we've always been really good at, is taking kids that are behind and closing the gap with those kids that are typically high achievers. And that gap has grown slightly because the people that are affected most by this are kids that probably struggled with some things at school to begin with. So again, it's an uphill climb, but I do see us getting to a point where, you know, we're making a lot of inroads in getting back to a high standard of what we expect of our kids and our kids meeting it. So that's the highlight, if it will. You know, I don't want anyone to think that we were focusing on negative things. What I'm telling is a story of being kind of down in the dumps and rising up out of that and getting up on our feet. And I'm proud of the inroads that we have made as a school, and I just see us improving as we move forward. So it's something that we're going to look back on and say, you know, remember. And sometimes we get united by some tragedy, and I think at the end of this, the teachers that go through this are going to look and say, remember when we got our kids through that in 2021. And so I'm super proud of them. We got close to fall break. I thought our teachers were going to kill me because I mentioned to several of them, I said, things are going so well. I see things improving. I think we should just skip fall break and keep going straight through school. But let's not send let's not send these kids home. Let's not send these kids home. And the teachers were like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Whoa there, big boy.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So ultimately things have been going really, really well.
Well, I think, okay, so I just wanted to kind of bring that to information, and I think that's good information and to relay. But let's find out what's going. Okay, so we are entering into to Thanksgiving and Christmas. So what else? Some on the horizon. Let's give Kayla a shout out.
Oh,
that
yeah,
wonderful,
Dracula.
How
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, the quality of that production was just excellent.
She's just
Every bit of it was a lot of fun, and you know, the kids did a superb job. I went and saw it over the weekend, but it was awesome to have it paired up with the Halloween weekend. So it was a great job by everyone, and I think everyone who went left singing the praises of all the kids and the directors. Got some things coming up. Obviously, we're transitioning into basketball season, so girls have already started. Our junior high kids are practicing, and our high school boys will be kicking off with the traditional game Wednesday against Salem before Thanksgiving, and I believe we host that game. So that's always
when
fun.
The alumni all comes in.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like my daughter who's in college said, "Well, that game's so much more like homecoming than any kind of homecoming."
Everybody.
I'm gonna have to get a shirt that's like half West Washington, half Salem.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I think that Rita could hook you up with that.
You
probably.
could be doing.
So.
No, I say is you could do this. You could go like this to Becky, and you'll be like this to Keith.
Front West Washington, the back Salem, or half and half, right? Yeah. So
Tonight we have a FAFSA event.
Oh gosh.
At the school, so that's really important for if you're a junior
everyone.
or senior parent, kid. Make sure you attend that because there's going to be a lot of great information shared there.
Such a blessing, and Keith, please, everyone, please don't miss out on this opportunity. Oh, it's such a blessing for families.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. I mean, it's really, so you need to go and you need to hear and get help.
And they'll talk about other opportunities for assistance as well, in addition to just filling out the FAFSA. So that's a great event tonight. It's going to be at 6 p.m. In our high school cafeteria. That's open to anyone that's a junior or senior. It doesn't even have to be a West Washington student. You know, you can hear this. You're welcome to come to the event. And then just, you know, we're really getting into the school year. And if you keep up or follow along with any of our social media stuff, we've been doing our best to do some really good professional development with our staff, and we've been highlighting some of that information. And then just the work that we've been doing with our students, we've been trying to highlight and show some of the things that are going on in the classroom. So just a great opportunities there. Tomorrow, this is kind of sad. We start talking about this in September, but we've always had a big Veterans Day program, and really the scale at which we do it on is the reason we're not having it. But people have come to expect we do it with the entire school. There's 1,000 kids there. There's 100 or more veterans. We have a meal afterward. So there are a lot of those things that we would have had to have modified. And so we are doing something for our veterans that we'll release tomorrow. So kind of keep your eye out for that. But we couldn't do our traditional Veterans Day program. But we are really excited in the future to do it again. So
I think that's very safe. That's good. Yeah. And I think something that, and I don't want to, and I know this might get eye rolls, but like COVID is still going on. I mean, and still, yes. I mean, and Keith, you got a good thing, just like you said, our schools, all 3 of our county schools right now are rolling, and we love that. You know what I mean? And so, and just anything that awesome. I mean, sometimes it's okay to not do everything, right. And I think that was a wise decision. I think that's good. Yeah.
The other thing we've been trying to promote is we've been highlighting like a spotlight. Really, there's no limit to how many we're going to do. We're trying to just do them as frequently as possible. We're highlighting a staff member, we're highlighting a student, we're highlighting an alumni. So we do have a way that you can go online and nominate a person. We're looking for especially alumni that have gone on to accomplish great things or been extra involved in their communities, things that we can highlight to shed light on their successes, but also what impact West Washington had on them. And then we're doing something similar for our students. And then we had this amazing response. We did one of Miss Sherry Hoare. She's a first grade teacher, and she's been teaching for more than 30 years, I think, or close to it. And when we posted it out there, it was amazing to see all the past students and past parents of students commenting on it. It's really heartwarming just to see them go on there and say, oh, Miss Hoare was my favorite teacher, and she did this for me, and like just little anecdotes and sharing of the impact that she's had and is still having on our kids.
I would say I'm a fan of hers.
I am too.
I really, she's very good, very, very blessed to have her. And she's fantastic.
She's also my neighbor. I guess when you go country neighbors, right? So whenever I'm walking the road by my house, she'll drive by and she'll stop and drive alongside me and talk to me.
I love that. That's wonderful.
You're down the road for me, but I tell people, oh, Keith Nance is my neighbor. So I consider everybody out there my neighbor. It's like,
we're neighbors, yeah. Well, I think it's important to know, how exciting and great things that are going on with schools, and school is, it's happy to have everybody back and all of that. And we're going to be entering into the seasons of Thanksgiving, and then we'll go into Christmas. And of course, we want to keep everybody well, right? And of course, the mask mandate has been something that all 3 county schools has put on, but actually it's worked out really well as far as the where you'd have to do quarantining when and so there's a whole process, but it really makes sense and it's worked out well.
Yeah. The changes we made, and as long as they stay in effect, it's just been beneficial when you do have a kid potentially that's been ill. You don't have to isolate so many individuals, and it's really been a windfall for us as far as keeping things going.
Well, there was a lot of schools that, because of just someone sitting by someone, and then they had to quarantine, and there was nothing wrong with them. I mean, they never did get it. It's been COVID's just so bizarre. I mean, saying all 3 of us sitting in the room, one might get it and the other 2 might not. I mean, it's just weird how it goes. And it's, of course, you can't predict any of that. But anyway, but schools without the mask mandate, you had to then go ahead and quarantine. And I remember students saying, I just want to go to school. I'm not sick. I've not been sick. I just want to go to school. But if you go,
we had situations where we went to quarantine a kid, and the kid got visibly upset or even verbally upset that we were excluding them from school, which, in what circumstances would kids say, oh, I don't want to go home for 2 weeks? I mean, we had kids that were upset. They wanted to be in school. They recognize number one, they recognize that they missed the social aspect and being with other students. But number two, I think they recognize that it's still the best place for them to be.
Yeah.
If Brad Gilbert and I would not have been able to socialize, do you know what that would have wrecked? Do you know that would have wrecked our our whole high school and middle school?
I don't know if you know this, Keith, but Becky and I probably were considered a little bit of a teacher's challenge
Yeah.
at times.
Yeah.
At times.
I bet.
When we approach our past teachers, we walk real slowly to see do they remember
Yes,
everything.
but we have some great past teachers.
We sure do.
Yeah.
We sure do. Yeah, and they do love us. We were little obstacle and bumps for them, but they do love us. We were good, but we
But yeah,
anyway,
I mean, but that makes sense. You know, there are those kids that, and that's another thing that COVID was kind of, you know, I'll use associates. There's times that we had to say, you've got to quarantine and you can't come to work and things like that. And it was just like, but it didn't make sense to them. You know, it's like, but anything you can do to keep that number going down as far as how you have to handle that and your response is a positive thing. I know a lot of people, and I'm not pro-mask, anti-mask, or anything like that. It's just one of those things that you got to look at in any positive direction we can go. Because at the end of the day, you guys are doing everything you can for the kids to get them educated and to take great care of them.
And I think it's important to know that people that are in authority, whether it's your school board, whether it's your administration, everybody's doing the best they can do, and you are given guidelines. So like everything that looks like that, like, oh, you can do this or I can do that, and you know, and Brad always calls armchair quarterbacks.
Armchair quarterbacks. Yeah. I mean,
to use Brad Gilbert's phrase,
I stole that from somebody,
okay.
But you know what I'm saying.
No,
that's
that needs to be.
It's just easy.
But anyway, but to be that, but you've got to remember that there are guidelines, there are rules, and if you have a question about one, instead of like jumping on social media or instead of jumping to some ridiculous things that you hear, you know what I mean, just pick up the phone and call or meet with, you know what I mean, or do whatever. But anyway, but there are rules that have to be followed. And that's what I think some people forget. You know what I mean? Yes, sometimes it looks like you could go from point A to point B, but you can't always do that because of the guidelines.
Well,
right? Oh, you got to go? Oh, you got to take a call. Okay. All right. Well, then Brad and I will fill in here.
Okay.
So Brad, he's kind of a big deal.
He is kind of a big deal. Yeah.
You know, right before school. So
absolutely.
I'm sure there's something going on.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
maybe his pickup's ready at Walmart.
Well, yeah.
Your groceries.
Your groceries are ready. Yeah.
Groceries are ready.
No, but yeah, they've been kind of blowing his phone up. So.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And that is okay. And, you know, but that's a very important point about, you know, I've often found that when it comes to not just with education, with businesses, things like that, those people that are always out there on social media or criticizing the armchair quarterbacks, like I say, they don't like it when it's reversed on them. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's easy with today's, you know, social media and things to criticize and not have, because you don't have to, you know, you don't have to listen to both sides of the issue. You don't have to. It's easy just to throw that out there,
right.
And you know, it's a drive-by,
right.
And that's very easy. And when it comes to the kids and how schools have gotten through this pandemic, I mean, it's just a waste of time,
right.
To me. That's my opinion on that. But I want people to be involved, to be paying attention, right. You know, families but it's easy to criticize.
Yeah.
You know, be part of the solution, not the problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Well, Brad, and I think we bring up some good points. And I know that West Washington, they do a great job, and I know they're very dedicated and some great teachers and administration and all around.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I think it's important to let the community know, you know, a little bit of hurdles or things that do happen, but also realize that everyone's trying to do the best they can do.
Right, and that's important. And
we were talking about you behind your back.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate it.
We know your online groceries are ready for.
Yeah, that's what we were joking. So yeah, and it's just one of those things that it's just easier to criticize a lot of times, and I understand being on the getting criticized about, but it's just like at the end, if we've not learned anything, it's just like there's a lot of people came together during the pandemic, a lot more than they really separated,
right.
And I don't want some of those lessons of the pandemic to go away.
Right.
You know.
There we go. Yeah. Let's look at the positive, the things we did learn.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes we realize what's important, and let's focus, you know, and let's do keep those. And I hope those do stay around.
Well, I've read a few articles about something called pandemic rage. I think is what they label it. But it's kind of
He was over at my office the other day.
but it's kind of a byproduct. It's kind of a byproduct of
Don't go in that office. Before I go in Brad's office, I wait like 2 seconds to hear. Listen, do I hear anything?
It's really based off of the social isolation and then the consumption of, you know, whether it's things on social media or just media in general, because they want to, you know, it wants to be polarizing. That's what draws eyes or whatever. And the truth is, especially in our community, we have far more things in common than we ever would disagreements.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the school, the thing I always say is like we're politically neutral. We're politically neutral. You know, our job is to do what's best for the kids in all circumstances. And so when we have to make a decision that you know, it may not be popular, there's no political influence in it at all. Is that we're just doing what is best for us, and what's best for the students, what's best for us to stay in school. And then again, reading those articles did help me, because I was just like, oh my gosh, there are more and more people that are just calling upset. You know, they're angry about this and that. And, you know, I always try to look at it from another person's point of view before reacting. And I think at the end of the day, you learn is like where these people are coming from is coming out of the same pandemic that we just came out of. And they probably had their own struggles. And so, you know, I just always try to find common ground, which typically with anyone that calls in are the kids. So,
and I think I think kids have a way of uniting people.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to, but I think they do. And I think schools and the events that kids have unites people. Like we talked about the West Washington Salem game, you know, that's a good county rivalry game, but that brings people together. You know, I know that how we had to approach things differently, it's still going to that baseball game, going to that basketball game, that football game, that play, whatever. You know, you've got people that you know, maybe they're sitting in the other bleachers, or you went to school with them, but you're cheering for a different school now. It still brings people together, you know, those conversations and stuff. And so I think sometimes kids, through their activities, inadvertently unites people a lot more than divides people.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know we'll get out of here because you guys got a lot going on this morning, I know. But one more thing, too. And we've said this all along, Brad and I, because we're here every week, saying that this is not political. This is just, you know, this is just trying to do the best for our students and our kids. You know? And we want every child to stay safe. And that's what we're here for. All three in this room care about the kids. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason that and all of your buildings do, too. And that's the whole reason that everybody's in it. And like Brad said, they would have abandoned ship.
Yeah.
They would have jumped ship a long time ago if they weren't in for the right reason.
Right.
I mean, now you know. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys for coming in, and keep up the great work over at West Washington School, and keep doing what you're doing. And we've got the ladies playing over there, the Senators. We've got the boys playing. We've switched from football. We had a beautiful football season. Now going on into basketball season. Jump right in. We thought we'd have a little bit of a gap. Mm-hmm. Whoa, no. I mean, game on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those basketball games are fun. It is a different environment. You get in there and you get to socialize with people you haven't seen. And you'll see some faces that you haven't seen in a while, and that's always fun, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Jeannie did have to weigh in this morning. The thing that was important is she said, regardless, that for the West Washington Salem game, I obviously have got to wear West Washington. My mom.
I know.
Yeah, she's a Campbellsburg high school person, so you know.
I know. Jeannie.
But anyway, she weighed in, so she said, "No, I've got to." So, which is good.
Well,
and you got a nephew going to play in the game.
Yeah. So,
and he's going to be wearing red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
I think because.
But she decided for it. She's like,
Okay, I love Jeannie, and I love her so much, but I'm just kind of, had a little bit of a.
Maybe.
Okay, so I think I'm going to need to ask. What's it called? Apple. Apple thing.
Fresh apple cake, yes.
Yeah, that's what
with caramel icing. Yeah.
That's the only way I can get over this, Jeannie.
Okay. We'll talk. Yeah. So she's listening. So.
Jeannie's the only way that Becky can recover from that. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Anyway, thank you for listening, Jeannie.
Yeah.
We have one person for
Yeah.
sure. We count on her.
And we beg her for food constantly.
Always. If you did, anything. Anyway, thank you guys for coming in. And Brad, so we're going to be gearing up 5 o'clock.
5 a.m.
I feel like Elf, remember? 5 a.m. Santa's coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I will be there at 5 a.m. just like everybody
With a
else.
smile
So
on.
with a smile on.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. It's a fun time. So
Do you do your Walmart chant before?
they do in the back room
Look at
at
that.
4:30.
That's
Yes.
a fun part. Have you ever been a part of that?
Yes.
Oh, that's so much fun.
So, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually get to lead that. So that's one of my favorite things to do just because the Walmart cheer is on the people side of the business. We start every meeting with that,
I know.
all of that, even our remote meetings. So it's just kind of cool and it gets people excited. And, it's
I remember sitting there-
Mr. Sam is the one that started that. So that's pretty cool.
That is a rock star on that for sure. Well, thanks for coming in. Let's thank our sponsors this morning.
All right, we've got Walmart, Meadowview, Salem Crossing, Hoosier Uplands, Kentucky Ann and Cat and Core Recycling, Dr. Black's Eye Associates, Dr. Mindy Gunn, Fox Burley Wealth Management, Skyline Suites, and Celebrity Home Loans.
Yay, everyone. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you, Keith. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Or apparently not be ready for a nursing home but need a little daily assistance. Skyline Suites is the perfect place for them to call home. Skyline Suites is a place where you feel part of our family. Enjoy exceptional amenities and furnishings, all while surrounded by the peaceful tranquility of quiet country living. Residents get daily assistance with showering, dressing, mobility, and all meals home cooked and prepared. Plus, there's a day spa, hair salon, and an activity center, Wi-Fi, and beautifully decorated rooms. You'll also have access to the local Senior Citizen Center and YMCA. Call Ryan Buchanan or Trent Nichols at 812-320-3761 for a tour today.
See Celebrity Home Loans in Salem, where everyone gets treated like a star. Come experience the star treatment with us. You'll never go back to the ordinary home loan experience again. Stop in today and see Dennis Baxter, branch manager of the Salem office, to start working on a new home loan or refinancing today. They've served nearly 50,000 families with over $15 billion in loans. Stop in and see Dennis and his staff. They're ready to work with you today. As a star, you expect the best, and that's all Celebrity Home Loans has to offer. Nothing off the rack. We're talking fine living, designer fashion home loans around here. Come by today and see Dennis or Autumn at 18 Public Square, Suite A, or call for an appointment. 812-883-0670. Remember, at Celebrity Home Loans, you're the star.